Recording in progress.
Okay, in last session we discussed about head, tail, more or less commands, right? Today we are going to discuss about something called as path variable. So when we want to discuss about path variable, we need to discuss about something called as environmental variables. So what are this? Is, for example, I have a Linux machine. If I execute ls command, right? Ls means like your Linux will be able to understand that ls command by default, right? Ls mkdir. Why? Because those are Linux commands itself, right? But if I install, like if I configure Maven on that Linux machine, so Maven is an external tool. If I try to run any Maven commands, your Linux machine will not be able to identify that Maven commands. By default, it will treat if you execute any Maven. Maven is a build tool. We will learn in further classes. So if you run any MVN command, which is a Maven command, your Linux cannot understand it. Why? Because it is an external tool. You just configured. So when you type MVN, it will try to check. Your Linux machine will try to check that whether MVN command is present in bin folder or not. Binaries will be present in bin and SBin, right? It will check in SBin. It's not there. So it will throw MVN is not a valid command, and like that it will show. Yes or no? So what should I do to make my Linux machine to recognize that? Is there are something called as, there is a path variable we call. Okay. So whenever you download and configure your Maven, right? The Maven software will also have bin directory. So Maven commands will be present inside that bin directory. That bin, right? Maven. So I downloaded some Maven software, something called as Maven something /bin will be there. So that entire path I have to take, and there is one variable in your Linux machine called as path. Okay, there is one variable called as path. To that path variable, right? A equal to 10, we will write, right? Like that path equal to that Maven path you have to give. Okay, then if you set that Maven bin directory to your path variable, Linux path variable, then your Linux, if you execute MVN command, it will check in bin. It's not there. MVN command, it will check in SBin if not there, but you have that in the path, so it will go and check inside that Maven bin directory. Yes, that command is present. It will execute that. Understood? So like that. So now what is this path? Path is an environmental variable. So we'll discuss more about these variables in shell scripting, but let us discuss about this environmental variables. Okay, I have a Linux machine. Okay, I have a Red Hat instance or Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, whatever it is. I have one instance, right? One Linux machine. Linux machine, what like your computer, right? Now, I logged in as a user called as A. Okay, I logged in as a user called as A. So now, if I log in as a user A, right? 1 second. Let me open it. This machine. Wait a second, guys. My system got hanged. Are you able to hear me at least?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. For example, if this is my Linux machine, if I connect to that using some user, and if I create a file, right? If I create a file, inside the file, if I create a value,
Your voice is breaking.
A equal to B. That was because of system hang.
Sorry, could you repeat it?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If there is a file, right? A user has logged in, and inside a file, if he has created a variable called as A equal to 10, A equal to 10, right? So in such cases, this variable A is a variable, its value is 10. Now this variable will be available to use, like I want to use A plus B or something, like I just want to print a value like that. This variable will be available inside this file only. But if I want to use that variable inside some other file, a variable inside this file, is it possible? Not possible. The scope of the variable is present inside this file itself, right? Now I want to access one variable called as B in every file. In entire Linux, I should I should be able to access that variable. In such cases, you have to set this B as an environmental variable. Environmental variable means system level variables. Okay, we call it as system level variables. You are not going to set that variable to a file. You are going to set that variable to a entire Linux machine itself. Okay, that Windows also will discuss going forward. But for now, just remember this. Okay, so we are going to set a variable called as B as an environmental variable. There are different ways like export, like that. There are different ways. We'll set that, right? So once we set that, that that variable will be set as a system variable. You can access that variable anywhere inside your system. Okay, anywhere inside your system. Okay, either in this file or this file, in a terminal, I want to print it, everywhere you can access that. Okay, so you just remember about this path variables and all, but now I cannot discuss this in detail. For now, you just leave it. But how to set multiple values to this? Like Maven, I want to run with Maven, and also I want to run with and I want to run with Tomcat, some other tools, right? So how to set the path for different variables, that we will discuss. So for now, you remember path is environmental variable. Okay, like this, we can set our own variables, a equal to 10, like that. We can set any number of environmental variables. Environmental variables means the variables which we can access anywhere inside your system, right? But one shortcut to remember environmental variables is it is recommended, and almost every time we see a environmental with the capital letters. Okay, we'll not write as a small a. If I want to set a equal to 10, we'll use it as a capital A. So always environmental variables will be in capital case, uppercase. Okay. So environmental variables as we discussed. So path is one of the environmental variable where we'll set the binary path of external tools like Maven and all. Okay, fine, you remember that. Next, PS command. Path I'm not showing it because we use n number of times we use, like I'll show how to set in next class, like when we are discussing with Maven and all, I'll discuss n number of times. You no need to worry. How to set in Windows, how to set in Red Hat, we'll discuss that, don't worry. Next, path. Sorry, PS. Sorry, next command is PS. PS means process. What is mean by process? What is meant by process is, see, I have a Linux machine. Okay, I have a Linux machine. I connected to this. This is my local laptop. Okay, using Git Bash, Putty, Termius. There are many tools. Using some tool, I connected from here to here, right? I'm executing one command. Like I want to copy the files from this folder, right? There is one directory or folder we call. From here to here, I want to copy. Here to here, I want to copy. So this file started copying. It will take 5 minutes to copy. It will take 5 minutes to copy. So what is the command we use for copy? CP, right? CP I use. So I executed a command called as CP, source destination path, execute, done. Now when the process starts, means when the copy starts from here to here, when I execute the command, a process will be generated. In the background, a process will be generated, and that process will have one process ID. Okay, the process will have process ID. Next, a process is running. It will take around 5 minutes to copy. Okay, just think that I just started. The process has been generated. In the background, it will have one process. Okay. Next, I want to move some files. There is one more folder. I want to move from here to here. I want to move. I executed that move command. It also takes like 4 minutes or 5 minutes. What happens? The process will be generated and it will have one process ID. So now how many processes are there? 2 processes. How many process IDs will be there? 2. And what is the user he has logged in here? For example, think that A user has logged in. A user called as A. Now this process belongs to which user? A. Some other user has logged in called as B user, and he connected here and he is executing some commands. Like he opened a file in a VA editor. When you open a file in VA editor, that is also a process. Right? You're writing something, you want to save it. A process will be there, right? So that is also a process. So this process belongs to this user. This 2 process belongs to this user. I think check from your end. I have full internet and everything. Others, are you able to hear, guys?
Breaking, sir.
Okay. Just a second then.
Recording stopped.
Stop the pass. Like this user has two running process, this user has one process. When this process completes, what will happen? The process ID will be removed, means that disappears, like the process will be completed. So how many process this user has? Only one process. So total two process, like that, right? So whenever you start a process will start and the process will have one ID, and whenever the process will complete, that process will be removed, right? So like that. Now I want to see, for example, we are running so many processes in the background. I want to see how many processes are there. PS is the command. Okay, PS, I'll show you. Okay, this will show you currently running process on your terminal, how many processes are running, that it will show. And for that particular user, on that terminal, you mean only for that particular user who has logged in, that user has running how many processes. For example, if I log in with this user has two processes running, and from some other place, this user has logged in and he is running a process. Now, if this user types PS, how many processes it will show for this user? 2. For this user, 2 processes are running. 2 it will show, right? If this user execute the same command, how many it will show for him? But how many are there in the entire mission? How many processes are running? 3. So if this user wants to see the all running process in this mission, then he has to type this PS minus A. PS minus A. So this PS will show only the current working user process, whereas this PS minus A will show all the processes running that mission. And in this case, if there are 10 users, I want to see only particular user process, then you have to type PS, that particular user name. If you type only for that particular user processes, it will show. Okay. Next, in general, it will show all the information. I don't want all the information. Without kernel information, I want, right? Except kernel processes and all, I want. In general, we use this command PS minus EF use, because it is going to show all the process. There will be some kernel process also running. We don't want to see that in general. So without kernel process, if you want to list something, PS minus EF you are going to use. Understood? PS minus EF. Okay. Now let me connect to this Linux mission. Just a second. Let me pause that video again.
Recording stopped.
Guys, as I am recording this and uploading to YouTube, so if someone sees also, it will not be decent. So don't make noises in between. If I ask a question, you answer. Unnecessarily, you don't keep on unmute. Right? It is a lengthy also, and even if you or someone watches also, it will not be decent for them. So I thought to upload at least few videos, whatever required initially, those to you, so you can watch later if you have any questions. And whatever the missing classes, I'll.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so this is my AWS instance. Okay, this is one is my AWS instance. So I connected to this using Git Bash. So in real time, we'll not use Git Bash, but going forward, we'll learn how we use in real time. Now we'll see Git Bash. So now I want to connect to this. So let me take the connect command. Okay, it will not connect. Just a second, it will make all issue. 1 sec. CS PS, I'm going to execute. It is showing this is process ID. Process ID. How much time it is running as, and what is the command it is doing is bash command. Just now I executed a PS, right? What is the purpose of PS command? To list the running processes. So this command, when I hit on enter, until it lists everything, when I hit this, a process has been started. The process will remain until it prints everything here. Yes or no? So when the completes, the process will be ended. That is the reason it is showing that PS also as a process, and bash will be running in the background, right? So that is this command. So if I type PS minus F, it is going to show so a lot of processes which are running in the kernel informations, right? Without now, if you want to use something, like I want to see some process which is running with some port number or something, right? You can use this grep command. Again, for this grep, I want to see whether any Java processes are running. If I type if something is running with EC-user, something, there is something, my internal user something, it is showing Java. I'm searching with this like this, right? So you can use to get all the process using PS command, and then you can use other grep commands and other commands as a combination to search for whatever you want. Okay, so PS command. Next, this is important, guys. I'll discuss more about this in where AWS. But for now, I'll just give the basic idea about this. Host name. See, every computer will have an IP address, right? Yes or no? If you are not connected to internet, right, you will have a private IP address. If you connected to internet, you will have a public IP address. That is what we know in general. See here, I created a Linux mission. I created a Linux instance. I said, if you start a Linux instance and connect to this, right, you have to use one command. Again, if you stop this and start it, the connect command will change. I was saying the connect command will change. I was saying, right? I'm not sure whether I said it or not in the first initial class. See, this Linux mission, whatever I created, it has one public IP address. It has one public IP address. It has one private IP address. Okay. So whenever you stop and start your Linux instance, public IP will change. Whenever you see this mission has a public IP address. When I stop this public IP address will be removed. When I start it again it will get public IP address, right? But private IP remains same. Along with this, you can see that DNS will be there. So private DNS, and somewhere if you see public DNS also it will have. See here, public DNS it will have. So this DNS in detail will come to know in AWS. For now, let me tell you one topic. That is, even your computer, local computer or whatever it is, this is my AWS instance, Linux server. Okay, I have one more Linux server like this. Both are in same AWS account. This is my AWS account. This is my AWS account. Here I created Linux 2 instances, Linux 1, Linux 2, 2 instances I created. Now from my local computer, means from my Git bash, okay, I want to connect to this. I want to connect from here to this mission. How it knows I want to connect to this mission only? First, you need to have access, username, credentials, either username or password or token, right? With certificates, something, right? Whatever it is, that is fine. That is authorization. But at least I need to know this is my details. If you want to come to this institute, I'll give address like this. This will also have one unique address. That is, one is IP address. The other one is host name. We also call as DNS. We'll see that about that in detail about DNS and all. But now you remember host name, host IP address. You know IP address. Everyone might be knowing IP address. So this will have an IP address. The other one is host name. Host name might be little new for you. Host name is nothing but every computer will have one unique name. So this DNS we are giving. If you want to connect to that instance, we are giving a DNS name. DNS. This is also same like a host name. For now, you remember this is also a host name. So I'm telling using EC2-user, I want to connect to this instance. If you don't want to give the DNS, you can give IP address also, because every computer will have one IP address, and one IP means private IP address will be there. I'm talking about public IPs. So if you connect to internet, it will have one public IP. Private IP is a different topic, that why you need a different public IP, private IP address, in which scenario we need both when we need only private, that and all we discuss in AWS VPC. Okay, for now you remember IP address, hostname, two things will be there. Now the same person wants to connect to the other machine. It will also have its own IP, right? It will also have hostname, right? So he can specify the hostname or IP address to connect to this machine. Now, I'm inside this machine itself, here itself. I already logged in somewhere. I'm here, right? I install a browser here itself. I install a browser here itself, for example. Now, if I want to access this machine, do I need to type the entire IP address? Okay, you can type, but what will happen? It will go to internet and come back, right? If I use hostname also the same way. Instead of that, what can I tell? Localhost I can tell. Localhost means what? Wherever your browser is there, the same machine you are accessing. So you don't need to specify. If I am here, if I type localhost, what will happen? It will mention this machine itself, right? I don't want that localhost. I want to connect to this machine. So what it will type? Hostname or IP address. So it will connect to that. Okay. If you want to connect to your local machine itself, you will specify localhost. So I am on this machine now. Hostname is a command. Hostname is a command. I want to see that hostname. It changes hostname. Hostname. So it is going to show that hostname. Okay. This is the hostname of this AWS Linux instance, right? I want to change the hostname. Yes, you can change that also using hostname command itself, but that is a Linux admin job. We don't do. If you want, we can see that in the AWS. But for now, hostname is the command which will print that hostname. Okay, which will print that hostname. So if we go here, you can see that. See this private DNS it is printing. I said right, for now we treat this DNS as the hostname itself. See, this is this mission has one private IP, unique private IP, unique public IP, and unique private domain name, public domain name. So here it is going to print that private domain name. Okay, that is nothing but a host name. Okay, so it will have as a public host also, it will be there. Now, it along with the host name, it will have one IP address, right? IP address. I want to see that IP address. Host name minus I can take. Host name minus I. It is going to give the IP address. Now, what IP address it is? Private IP address. This is private IP address. Okay. So for that particular mission, if you want to see the host name, private host name or private IP, you can use this command. Next, I want to see the public IP address. IF config. That we will discuss later. So one more command is to see that IP address, we can use ifconfig also. So public details we'll discuss later. So ifconfig is one more command in general we use to see the IP address. So here also it is going to show the IP address. Okay. So either you can type hostname minus I or else ifconfig. In Windows it is ipconfig, but in Linux it is ifconfig. Okay. Ifconfig. This is a command we use in general to see this IP addresses. Okay, so this IP addresses dividing how it is and all. Those who attended AWS session, you know it. If not, if you attend once again, I'll show. Those who has not attended, we'll discuss in AWS. Okay. Okay. Hostname is a command which will list the hostname minus I. It will list IP address, or else ifconfig we can use. Okay. Fine. Next. So this we don't use in general, but just for knowledge purpose, you can remember this is, if you want to know that network information, what is network, you don't know for now. Okay. Again, AWS dependency is there here. So this is a command you can type to list the network information, but you don't understand it. If you service command we'll discuss later. Just I already discussed this ifconfig hostname minus I. Okay. And this is one more important command. Guys, this I forgot, I would have explained at the last time itself. Anyways, let's discuss now. When you are copying a file, for example, in Windows, when you are copying something from one location to other location, if it is taking 5 minutes, a pop-up will show you for you, right? Like this, a pop-up will be shown with close, minimize buttons and all. Do you remember? If it is taking time. But in same, like if you are copying a file in Linux with the cp command, if it can copy quickly, it's okay, fine. But if it is copying something, right, which will take time and you want to run it in the background, You don't want to show there I'm copying something like that and all. You want to run it in the background, and the symbol you have to append. Not only for a copy, anything, any process. If you want to run that process in the background, then we have to use one and symbol at the end. And the symbol at the end of the command indicates to run this command in the background, to run this command process in the background. This you remember. Okay, fine. Next, you know about processes. You know about process. I just explained, right? There will be a process running and all. Now, one process got hanged, or else like it is running in the background. I want to stop it. Suddenly, I want to stop it. Kill is the command to do such actions. Kill is the command to do such actions. So I'm not discussing in detail about Linux admin level, but whatever we require for DevOps engineer, that level I'm discussing. So kill is a command. For the kill has different signals to do different actions, right? Now, if you use -i, kill, -i, every process, how to see a process? PS command. Whenever you list the processes using PS, it will generate, it will show that process ID, right? Whenever I type like this, PS, it is going to show the process. This is a process ID, right? Now I want to kill this process, right? Now I want to kill this process. What is the command to kill? Kill. To kill that, to close that process, -9 is a signal we have to pass to kill command, and we have to give the process ID 3138. What will happen if I give 3138? The bash shell will end, right? Bash shell means what? This terminal will get closed. Bash is nothing but this terminal only, right? Inside the bash.
What does that 9 indicate? What does that 9 indicate?
That is a signal. There are different signals like -9, -3. There are different signals. But now you blindly remember kill is a command, but it will not general in kill. But if for the kill command itself, you want to send one signal to close that process ID. So for that, you have to give that. I'm going to give you a process ID. You kill it like that. You are saying. So this is a signal you are passing. Okay. Now if I type this, enter this, it will close the terminal, because terminal is nothing but in the terminal bash shell is running. At this shell topic we'll discuss again in shell scripting, the starting topic of shell scripting about this shells. Okay, so that bash shell is not there means you cannot run your terminal, so it will get closed. So again, I don't have patience to reopen it, so I'm not closing it. Okay, fine. Okay, if you are running anything like this in the background, now we want to see those, what are all the process running in the background. Jobs is a command. Okay, list the processes. This jobs command is going to list the processes which are running on the background. Now, this other than kill, everything you have to remember, guys. PS kill is important, but you have to remember at least. Kill -9 you remember. If it is too heavy, kill -9 process ID to kill that. PS in general, PS -ef will give, except kernel, it will give all the information. Then we can use grep and we can search for whatever we are running. Like that, you have to have at least some idea. All right, going forward, we'll use them. But for now, this command is for this purpose. We'll use like this. You have to remember at least. So we'll use it. Next, one more important. Maybe it is not important for real time working, but interviews, it is very important. For interviews, it is very important. Those who want to give interviews. See, I'm saying like for the new joinees, I'm saying this is a Red Hat Linux. Those who has attended the previous sessions where I created this Linux mission, for them it's okay. They know that this is a Red Hat instance. But the new joiners are saying, no, sir, how can we trust you are teaching Red Hat? That might be Ubuntu. They are questioning. I want to show them proof. If I go to AWS, right, here itself, if I go to networking or not networking, somewhere here in the details or somewhere. So this is AMI number I can show. Okay, this is the AMI number. Who knows this? So I can say this. This is Linux. I'm teaching you Linux. If I scroll down somewhere, it has some other information. So at least maybe this is not required for now. So I can just show you at least this. So this Amazon Linux I'm using, this and all I can tell them. Okay, this is platform Amazon Linux. I'm not using Red Hat Linux. I think Amazon Linux AMI I took. I can tell them. But this Amazon Linux internally it uses Red Hat is similar like Red Hat. This Amazon Linux is built on top of Red Hat Linux, I said. But I want to show you the proof you are asking. In such cases, the interview question will be like this. I just explained so far, I explained just for how it will be for knowledge purpose. In the interview, how they'll ask is, show me how can you prove, or else like how can you tell me that what is a Linux machine you are using, or else tell me that what is a Linux machine you are using. Tell me the Linux machine what you are using. So for that, how to show is, there is one file. There will be one file under etc directory. Tell me what are the Linux distributions. Few of the Linux distributions or flavors. Red Hat, Fedora, okay, SUSE OS, like that. In Linux, there are different flavors. See, every Linux machine, under every Linux machine, there will be one etc directory. We know, right? So under etc directory, etc, there will be one file for every line, everything. If it is SUSE, right? SUSE distribution, SUSE minus release, SUSE hyphen release. If it is Red Hat, Red Hat hyphen release. Ubuntu means Ubuntu hyphen release, something. It ends with hyphen release. Now I want to print that. See, the starting of the file is changing, but the hyphen release is fixed. If it is SUSE means SUSE hyphen release. Red Hat means Red Hat hyphen release. Now that file will have the complete information. Don't sleep, man. Okay. Okay. That. Okay. So that file will have hyphen release extension for sure. Now, how can I print that file? I want to print star hyphen release. Why you are thinking star hyphen release? I don't know whether this is Red Hat Linux or SUSE or Ubuntu, whatever it is. I don't know, but I know that under etc directory with that distribution name hyphen release, one file is there. Hyphen release common, so I'm printing like this. Now this file, this is very important. This file under etc directory, every operating system Linux distribution will have a file with hyphen release extension. If you print that, it will have the full information. What it is saying? It is Amazon Linux. The name is Amazon Linux. Version is second. Next, here if you see this Amazon Linux release, it will show this is from Amazon RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux Fedora. Right, it is saying it supports. This is similar like CentOS. This is similar like CentOS. It is showing ideal like it is showing CentOS. CentOS also similar like Red Hat, right? So Amazon Linux is also similar like CentOS, Red Hat, Fedora. It is saying. Okay. Now take the assignment for tomorrow. Okay. Create an Red Hat instance in your AWS. Create an Red Hat Linux in your AWS account. Yes. Second step. Find out Linux. Find out what is it? Version distribution of that instance, of the created instance, like family, which family it is, distribution, version, and all. You find it and tell me. Okay, fine. Okay, this is a very important question, right? This is a very important question. Next, uname I already discussed. This is like one more thing. This no one asks, just for knowledge purpose. If you want to know the physical RAM information, your system physical RAM information, you want to see this. Okay. So there is a directory called as proc. Inside that there is a folder called as version. If you print this, it is going to give that information. Right? Or else you can use this information, or this command, or this command, anything you can use. This commands, if you remember one, that's enough. These are going to give the physical RAM information. Now we are going to discuss about set command, which is one of the important command, one of the most important command. Like I was saying, right, top 5 interview questions are like top 5 commands, right? So this is one among that. Let's spend some time here. We'll discuss about this. What is sed command? So far, we discussed about tail command to print the top lines, bottom lines. Like we discussed about cut command, where we'll cut the separate, like some portion of the file in each line, like that file each line, or some positions and print it. Word count command, grep command, like that we discussed so many things. Similar like that, this also one important command. What it will do is, it will search based on the criteria you get. It will search for some content. Grep, what it will do? Grep command, what it will do? Search, same like in Windows Control F. It will, right? If you give grep and some command file name, it will going to search for that content inside that file, right? And it will give wherever the content is matching, that lines it will give, right? Fine. This sed is also going to search. This sed is also going to search, but it will not leave after searching. What it will do is, for example, do you remember the replace command? In Windows, there is one option, Control F, replace. Search and replace, right? Same like that it is going to do. But by default, it is not going to replace the content inside the file. It will just read the content of the file. It will substitute. For example, you want to replace A to B. It will replace it and just print on the terminal. That's it. But if you want to replace in the file, we can do some other operation. For now, let's do this. See here, I am going to create one file, vi setfile.txt. Right? I'm going to write this content. See this. Hello, everyone. Okay, just hello, all. Good morning. Okay, right? Now here only I want to do one more thing. Good morning, everyone. Like, okay, this I am writing. Okay, those who are online can see what you are doing. So this is my file. This is my file. So what I have to do here? Let me explain the syntax first, then I'll come here. Sed is the command, same like all the commands. Sed will give, file name at the end will give. Whatever we want to do, we'll give it here. See this, whatever this search criteria, this is a text. I want to search for a word called as DevOps. I want to search for a word called as Java, like that, right? So that DevOps and Java, what they are text means string. So what should we do? What is the recommended? Even if you don't use that, also not a problem. But what is recommended? Whenever you are using a string in Linux, it is recommended to keep either in single quotes or double quotes. That is mandatory. So now that is the reason I'm keeping it in a single quote. This is my search criteria. What is this? Right? Now, let me explain as per the same pattern. Sed, I want to keep it in the search criteria, but where I want to search? Inside a file called as sed file. Sed is going to search inside this sed file, but what it want to search? It want to search for something called as hello. It want to search for something called as hello. In place of hello, it want to replace or substitute with hi. Keep this double quotes. But to mention that substitute, I have to keep here yes. Yes means substitute. Right? I'm saying yes, such and substitute or such. This I forgot. Such and substitute, I guess, or such. Such and substitute or substitute. No, I don't. I think substitute, I guess. Substitute, I think. Okay. Yes means substitute. Hi in place of hello. So what it is going to search in that set file.txt, for what word it is going to search? Hello. Substitute hi in place of hello, I'm saying. So what it is going to do? It is going in this file. It is going to search for a word called as hello and in place of that, it will replace hi with hello, and then sorry, hello with hi means hello is going to change as hi and it will print in the terminal. Now see this. Now here I gave hello as small case. Did it replace this first line? Did it replace? No. But in the second line, I have hello. Did it replace it here? Here. Why it haven't replaced in the first line? Case sensitive. Here I guess here it is capital H, uppercase. So case sensitive, not matched. So the second line hello is matched. So it is the reason it has replaced hi with hello. Now tell me, it replaced the content and printed here. Fine. Did the original file got modified? No. If I type this, my original file is as it is. Remember, in sed also by default, it is not going to modify the by default, it is not going to modify the original content. It will just take the content of the file, do the operation, print the result on the terminal, but the original file remain as it is. Okay, fine. Next. Now you observe this, right? Now let me repeat that same command once again. Now you observe, right? It is not replacing the capital H, but it replaces the small case wherever the case is matched. Now I want to replace everyone. There is a word called as everyone. Okay, I want to replace everyone with all. I just want to replace everyone with all. Capital all. Okay. Now if I type here, see this is original. Is there everyone? Did it replace that everyone with all? Okay, here itself. Let's see this. There is one everyone. Did it replace everyone with all? Okay, is there any other everyone? Here also everyone is there. Did it replace? No. Why? Case sensitive. Okay. Now let's come to the third line. Is there everyone here in the third line? Did it replace with that? Yes or no? There is one more everyone here. Yes or no? But here it haven't replaced. Case is also matching. Why? Yes. By default, sed will substitute, means it will replace some content print in the terminal. But by default, it is going to replace only the first occurrence. First occurrence of each line. Not in the, that's why I wrote here, right? Everyone in different lines to occur. It is not going to replace all the matches. By default, it is going to replace the first occurrence of each line. In one line, if you have two occurrences, only the first occurrence. If you have the same in multiple lines, okay, it will replace in each and every line, but only the first occurrence in each line. Don't think the first occurrence in the file. Don't think like that. It is going to replace in the first occurrence of each line. Okay. Now, I don't want to do like that. I want to replace the second position, not the first occurrence. The second occurrence I want to replace. What should I do? I have to give. See, guys, whenever you are using sed command, this last slash is important. If you don't give this last slash, it will not work. Okay. The last slash is important. If you don't give that last forward slash, it will not work. Okay, fine. Now here, by default, it is replacing first occurrence, right? If I want to replace the second occurrence, not the first one, second one, I can give 2 here, means second occurrence. See this. In this line, this everyone is a first occurrence or second occurrence in this particular line. Okay, first occurrence. Did it replace? No. In this line, this is a first occurrence or second occurrence? First. Did it replace? No. Why? Because I mentioned here to replace the second occurrence. Here, there is second occurrence. Did it replace it here? Yes. Why? Because I mentioned it as a second occurrence of each line. Now, if I keep it 1, does it going to make any sense? Either keeping it 1 or none. Both are same. By default, it is going to replace the first occurrence. Now, not the first or second, not the particular occurrence. I want to replace all. Then what should I do? G. Then why you attended in previous batch? G means global. G means global, means all the occurrences inside that file, all the occurrences I want to replace. See this. Here there was one everyone replaced. Here there was one everyone replaced. Here there is one everyone replaced. Understood, guys? Sed is the command it will search for the text and replace. By default, it is going to replace the first occurrence of each line. If you want to replace or the specific occurrence at the end, you can give the number, or else if you want to replace all the occurrences, you can give G, which means that global. Is it clear, guys, those who are online?
Yes.
Yes.
First occurrence, second occurrence, this is global, right? Like this you can replace. Next, this sed command not only for this purpose, it can be used for some other purpose also. What is that purpose? Is, you tell me one thing, using tail command, what we do? Last lines.
Last line.
Last line.
Using
Last 10 lines.
header command,
Last 10 lines.
what about in between lines? If my file 100 lines, if I want to print top 10 lines, top 20 lines, top 10, 100, 50 lines, I can use head. Bottom 5 lines, 3 lines, 10 lines, 30 lines, 50 lines, 80 lines, I can use tail command. But what about in between lines? 5 to 10, 50 to 60, like that I want to print.
We have to use pipeline concept.
In what?
Pipeline concept, sir. Head, whatever we want to tail. In middle will give.
No, not like that. Set the command we can use. How is like this? Sed minus n 8 comma 12p. You should not give 8p comma 12p. You should not give 8 comma 12p the file name. Means 8 to 12 lines it is going to print. We have one example, right? Let me show you that. Yes, there is one line, right? One file, right, where we have created word count like this. On this file. This has 1 to 40 lines, right? Now, sed minus n. I want to print 5 to 10. 5. Keep it in double quotes or single quotes. 8 comma, like same, like I want to print like 15. What is the file name? Word count. Is it printing 8 to 15 in between lines? Okay. What if I give only 15p? Only one, not 8 comma, only 15p if I give, what will happen?
Print only 15.
No, only 15th line it is printing. Sorry, I guess. My mistake. Okay. Sorry, it is printing any particular line. If you want to print in between lines, you can use this. So if you want to print top lines, head, bottom lines, tail, if you want to print in between lines, set the command we can use. Understood, guys? Okay, in between lines, set 8 comma p, 8 comma 15p, like that, whatever you want. But you should not give like this. You should not give like this. 8p comma 15p, it will not take. Or else if you give 8p 15, it will not take. It is not going to take this, right? You have to give 8 comma from where to where. Number. Here we have to give 15p, like this only have to give. Understood, guys? Okay. This is the command. Sed will do two purposes. One is replace the content and print on the terminal, and then find in between lines. Oh, did I close that? Just a second. Just a second. I close that Word document somewhere. Okay, you understood about set command. Now, take one more assignment. Take one more assignment. Okay, take assignment. Okay. What is that assignment is? Create a file. Create a file with 5 lines, like 10 lines. Create a file with 10 lines of text. Each line having a word called morning. A word called morning repeated 2 or 3 times in each line. 2 or 3 times in each line. That morning word should be there at least 2 or 3 times inside here. It is saying like this. Okay, 2 or 3 times that morning has to be repeated. Now replace morning with evening. Replace morning with evening in the original file using Z command. Means not in the terminal. The content has to be modified in the file itself. You do however you want. You know, right? The ways, different ways to do. The content of the file has to be modified, right? But said what it will do? It will replace and print on the terminal. But I don't want it in the terminal. The original file has to be replaced. Okay. In that lines, one more condition, right? In that 10 lines, morning should be there only on 5 lines. Morning should be there only in 5 lines. So 10 lines you have in the file, but morning is repeated 2-3 times in 5 lines. The other 5 lines, the morning word itself is not there. Now you want to replace that morning to evening and write the content to the same file. So it should have 10 lines, not the 5 lines. Understood? So the aim is in 10 lines, morning word is there in 5 lines. Everywhere the file should be as it is, but morning has to be replaced with evening. You do it and come tomorrow. Okay, can you do this? Yes or no, guys? Okay, next.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. expr command. Next is expr command. If you can't do it, just Google it. Google will help you. You try to learn yourself, right? Don't depend on someone always. Google is there. Without Google, we can't work even for a single day. Okay. Okay. expr. See, guys, in Linux, before going to expr, let me explain about echo command. Okay, echo. What is echo command is, whatever you give it to echo, it will print. I'm giving hi, it will print in the terminal. I'll give hello, it will print hello. Hello all, I'm printing. It will print hello all. Whatever you give it, it will print it. Then you might get one question. I know whatever I'm typing here. Why it has to print again and show it here? Yes or no? But there is some use. Going forward in shell scripting or other ways like Jenkins and all, we'll learn the actual use of this. But for now, let me explain this. It is printing, right? But whatever I give, it is printing this. But one recommendation I showed, I said you, wherever we use text or string formats, we have to keep that in either double quotes or single quotes, I said. Yes or no? Okay. We have to keep either in double quotes or single quotes. Right? Why? Why? Because see here, echo hi, all I printed. But sorry, go is missing. But how many spaces I gave it here? How many spaces it took here? One it took. Only one. I want to give multiple spaces. So in such cases, if we use double quotes, then only, or single quotes, then only it will work. Now it is treating. Is it giving those many spaces? Whatever I give, is it printing this here? That is the reason I said you always, whenever you are writing a string, put it in either double quotes or single quotes. Else, you'll face such issue. Understood? So this is echo command. Okay. Now I want to count 2 plus 2. How to count 2 plus 2? What it is saying? Why? In Linux, everything starts with a command first. If you type ls minus l, what is ls? Command. It is a command. Minus l are the parameters. Right? ls is a command, minus l are the parameters. Right? Now, anything which starts in the Linux, that first is a command, then we can pass the parameters in it. Now, if I type 2 plus 2, it is treating 2 as a command. Where is 2 as a command? It is saying command not found. That is not a valid command. So what can I do? Can I pass like this echo 2 plus 2? What it will print? It will print 2 plus 2. It is treating it as a string. I want to add those numbers. So in such cases, if you want to do any arithmetic operations, right? Don't ask me what are arithmetic operations. Okay, I'll send you to school again. Okay, 2 plus 2, 4, right? I want to divide it, multiply it, subtraction, everything. For such operations, you can use EXPR command. EXPR means what? Expression. Okay. EXPR 2 plus 2. Right? Like this I have to give. Understood? EXPR when to use. Not only this, like if conditions we will write that we will learn in shell script.
The EXPR command uses for all arithmetic operations, only for addition.
Yes. I said arithmetic operations means is there any like
Yes. I just shown that only for addition. Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay. But in few cases, like if you want to use 2 into 2, EXPR 2 multiplied 2, if we use what it is printing, syntax error. Why? Because this is a special character, like a special symbol. So in such cases, to specify this is a special character, you have to use escape characters recall. Means to mention this is a special character, right? It cannot understand by default. It will treat like a star. To tell it as a multiplication, you have to escape it using a escape character. This backslash is called as escape character. So I'll show it here. See, 2 plus, it is normal symbol, minus star, it is a symbol, right? Special symbol. So to tell that it is a star, escape character you have to do. Division, no problem. Equal, no problem. But greater than symbols, to specify these are symbol, escape characters we have to use. Understood? Okay. Do you know what does this mean? EXPR 2 equal to 2. What does this mean? What it will give?
Comparison.
1 it is giving. Why? Yeah.
Right.
For now it is comparison. Right? But equal to is like assignment parameter. A equal to 10 is assignment. Right? A double equal to, in general, we treat it as a comparison. But here we can use EXPR for true or false also. Whether 2 equal to 2, true or false. True, it is printing. So if I give like this, 0 it is giving, means false. 2 equal to 3, true or false? False. Like that it will give. Okay. For this, if condition checks also we can use EXPR, that will give. Not equal to, I want to check. 2 not equal to 3. We can use exclamatory. Not means this. But here it is giving 2 not equal to 3. True or false? True. Right? Like this also we can use this. Understood? This EXPR can be used like this. Okay. This we also can use that. This checks. So this text can contain this text or not. Krishna contains K, RI or not. RISH I want to. So Krishna you give this condition. Krishna, Krish you are giving. So this is present inside this or not. Yes, present. True. It will give. Like that also we can check for expression matching also. Understood guys? So EXPR for arithmetic operations and also for like if condition checks. If condition check you forget for now. I'll explain it in shell scripting. For now you remember it can be used for arithmetic operations. Okay. Next, DS command. DF command. This is one of the important command asking in regularly in interviews. DF itself is saying disk free. Okay. Those who attended previous batches, in Linux I explained starting Linux this is a DF. Then again I showed in real case about DF. Do you remember when I showed? Then why you attended AWS class? Whenever we mounted EBS external volumes, did we check this whether it is properly mounted or not? We checked this DF command, yes or no? That also I didn't remember. Only God can save you. DF is a command which will show how much disk free means disk free. The name itself means disk free. This means what? The hard disk. How much memory is available on your hard disk? That is okay. But it is giving in this block something. I want this available. This much is used. This much is available. It is saying, but I don't want to know it in a proper format. What to do? -H. Wherever you want in human readable format, -H. It is saying 848 MB is available here. So this is my hard disk actually, not the other things. This is partition something it did. It is doing for that. But here inside this, the total available hard disk I have is 8 GB. You remember while creating the EC2 instance, it showed 8 GB. storage, we use that 8 GB storage. Makusha. Okay, 8 GB. In that, how much is used? 1.5 GB. In that, how much is available more? So total 10% has been utilized. Like this, it is shown. So in my hard disk, this is the total memory available. Inside this much is used, and this is available. So percentage it is 19% it is used. Okay. Understood? Disk free. How to check how much memory is available on my system? That is the interview question. df minus h. You give it to show. df is a command. Okay. Next. du. You want to check a file how much memory it has been utilized, or else a folder how much it has utilized. du is a command. Disk usage. If you want to check something how much memory a file or a folder has utilized, du is a command. Okay, again this also we use, but not now. I'm just explaining, you keep it in mind. If you want to know in human readable format, it is okay. For example, let me show you now itself. du minus h I'm typing. du minus h. What it is showing? See, total it is using 4K, right? So in this, it has been this. There is one folder called as bash 21. Nothing utilized. There is one more folder called as bash 22. Inside that A, B, C, D is there. 0 kilobytes they have used, right? But total this current directory, in everything combining, it is using 50K. Okay, this entire folder, right? The current directory, because this usage I said, what is my current working directory? This working directory is using 56 kilobytes. Okay, that much memory. But if you specify something like du minus h, I forgot the format. I think batch. If you give like this, so for that particular directory, it will show for that particular directory, how much memory it is using. If you don't give, it will check for the current working directory. Okay, this is my current working directory. Okay. Next, last is a command. It will show the last logged in users, right? If you want to see like who are all the users last logged in, for that it is going to show. Next, shell. Okay. Let me explain about this shell. Anyways, in shell scripting we are going to discuss, but let me discuss now itself. I'm not going to repeat once again, guys. I'll just brief at that time in shell script. Next, after this Linux, we'll discuss about shell scripting. So I'll just brief it and continue. So anyways, the topic came. Let me discuss about this. Again, I'll revise, but not in detail how I'm doing. Guys, let me go to this architecture. Okay, let me explain this. I have this. There is a paint here. I have a Linux machine here, right? I connected to this terminal here. I connected to this using the temp file connect command. Now, where I run the command, actual command, where is my git bash? On my machine itself, I opened a git bash, right? Where I execute a command, ls or something, where I execute on my git bash. So when I execute the command has to be carried from here to here, process it, get back the result and display it. Yes or no? Right? So for that, to do the operation, there is something called a shell. There is something called a shell. Shell is nothing but a program. That is not, the program is nothing but shell script. Shell is nothing but a small shell script which is running in the background. It will be always running in the background. So now, as you connected to this machine using your git bash is nothing but your terminal. Right, terminal, wherever we write the commands, or wherever the output is displayed, that we call as a terminal. So whenever I execute a command, right, there will be one person called a shell, which will carry the command from here to here, run that, process that, get the result and display it here. Who will do that job? What is your name? Anwar. Who will do that? Shell. What is shell? Shell is a small script which will be in the background and which will act as a mediator between your terminal and OS. Right? So it will carry the command from here to here, process it, get back the result and display it here. Right? So So one Linux will have only one shell? No, there will be many shells. I can change the shell from one shell to the other shell. But what is the default shell? Bash shell. Guys, those who attended last time, it's too bad. If you can't remember this, quit it. Go for some other training. If you can't remember this, at least you are unfit for IT. Small thing. What is the default shell? Bash shell. This is a minimum basic thing. If you don't answer this in interviews, what they'll think? They no need to ask about the other question. Bash shell. If I don't like bash shell, there are other shells like Korn shell, C shell, there are T shell, something like that. We can change from one shell to other shell. But how to change that? We will see in Linux. Why in shell scripting? Why I know you people will forget this today itself. So I want to revise once again. So the default shell is bash shell. Okay. I want to see that. What is my default shell? How to see that shell? Let's echo $shell. So what is shell here? It is in capital letters. Can you guess? Those who are online, by seeing that capital letters, can you guess what it is? Environmental variable.
Environmental variable in Python.
Yeah. Can I create an environmental with small cases?
No.
No.
Yes, we can create. Who said no? Did I say it? No, we can create, but it is not
Mentioned in the
mandatory.
caps. Okay. Got it.
Recommended to create in capital letters, not mandatory. It will allow. I can create an environmental variable with a small case also, but not recommended. Okay. So it is showing us bash shell. So bin/bash. So all the shells are present on bin, and some other folders we'll see that later. So bin/bash. So by default, it is pointing to bash shell. If I want to change from bash to some other shell, what I have to do? Just change the value of this shell variable to some other shell path. So bash shell is present in bin folder, bin/bash. Like this, there will be something called as k shell, bin/k shell, something will be there. I just change this path of this shell variable to something else, so that shell will work. Okay, I'll show you that. You don't worry, we'll see that later in shell scripting. Understood? So these are the commands. Like if you want to see, or else like you can see like this also. Simply you don't need to tell this echo $0. Also, it will show that shell bash shell it is running like that. Also, you can see this. Okay. How to change one shell to one other shell temporarily is like this. For example, you want to change anyway, TSH, if it's T shell or something, TCSH. Okay. So it changed it to some other shell. It will come back. If you want to come back to bash shell, you can type bash. Okay, like this. How to change this and all temporary, permanently, we'll see in shell scripting. No, just leave it. There are multiple. How to know what shells are supported. Next, you want to know about network information, or like what are the port numbers utilized. Okay, this you don't know. Let's leave this. Let's start. You don't know what is about port numbers. When I discuss about Tomcat and all, I'll tell. For now, you remember for network information and port number information in general, netstat is the command we use. Okay, netstat. This is one of the important command. You remember for network information and port number information, right? We use this netstat. We'll see about that later. Next, one more important thing. See, we are all working in one team. I got a doubt. I'm configuring some server or something I'm doing, like installing Jenkins or something I'm doing on a DevOps tool. I asked Ravi for the help. Ravi, I'm doing something, I'm not getting it. Can you help me like that? What he said is, he came to my mission, he executed 10 commands and when it started working. I thought, next time I need the same help. I want to go to him. Again, he'll repeat the same command, but I cannot remember those. So I cannot write it down also. I cannot ask him like, can you write down the commands or else put it in a notepad, what each one you execute, right? I want it for future help like that, right? Instead of asking him, what I can do is, before executing the commands, I can type one command called as script. I can type one command called as script. What will happen when I type the script is, in my current directory, wherever I am working, right? This is my current directory. In my current working directory, a file will be generated. A file will be generated. Done. A file will be generated with the name TypeScript, right? Just now, when I typed script in my current type, wherever I executed this script, right? I executed in my home directory. So in that home directory only, a file will be generated with the name TypeScript, right? Now, from now onwards, whatever I execute, that commands will be recorded inside this file. Means script, whenever you type, means a recording has been started on your terminal. So whenever you type, whatever the commands you execute, all the commands will be recorded inside this TypeScript. ls I type, you remember, ls minus la I type. Next. Script, right? Whenever I type a command called a script, if I in that wherever the location I executed the script command, a file has been generated with the name TypeScript. So from now onwards, whatever I execute, whatever the go on mute, guys. This I don't excuse. How many times I have to tell you? Okay, so whenever I execute this script command, a file will be generated in that directory with the name TypeScript, right? So whatever I execute, the commands, next commands, everything will be stored inside this TypeScript file. So far I executed ls minus la, right? Date command executed. It is showing today's that Linux mission's current date. Calendar, showing calendar, right? The current month calendar it is showing. If you want to specify cal minus 8, if you specify that like if you want to get a 1 month minus this number like 9, go on mute. Avya, this is not good. How many times I have to tell you? If you do this next time, I'll remove you guys. While joining itself, you keep on mute. You are explaining me back again or what? Okay. So this commands, everything is stored in that TypeScript. And remember that I'm recording this sessions. It will not be good to even if I upload it. I'm stopping this recording. If you don't want recording, okay, you talk it.
Recording stopped.
Okay, I'm not recording anything. You type like this one. If someone listens to the recording, it will be not good. There is a lot of disturbance. I am giving you warning. How many times I have to tell? Keep on mute. Is that a big job for you or what? While joining itself, you keep it on mute and join. Okay, see this. This is the one. Okay, now everything is tracked. Until when it will track is until you type this exit command. Until you type this exit command, because of you people, others are suffering. I'm not going to record any session from now. Okay, see exit. Done. Right? Now the TypeScripting it is saying scripting done. File is TypeScript. Okay, file is TypeScript. Understood? So now if I type this cat TypeScript, okay, cat. It is disappearing. Let me remove it and repeat that once again. Where is that TypeScript? Okay, for today I'm excusing and going to record once again. But next time onwards, if you do this, repeat these things.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so when I type script, a file will be generated with the name TypeScript. Right, from now onwards, whatever the commands I execute, everything will be stored inside this until I type exit. So when I type exit, it's showing the file TypeScript is done, right? Script done, file is TypeScript. So if I type this TypeScript, see whatever we have did, right? Everything is saved here. Everything is saved, right? It is going to see. I typed the cat here, right? When after typing this script command, I executed ls minus a, right? So when I cat this, see that information. Script started at this time. After that, I executed ls, and the result is this. After that, I executed one more ls, and I typed ls minus l. So then I typed exit, and the script has been exited at this time. Everything, the commands what you executed, that result, everything is stored inside this file. So you don't need to ask Ravi. So whenever he is coming and asking you, whenever you ask his help, whenever he comes in, you, just type that script command and give your system name. Let him execute all the command. At the end, you type exit. That's it. Whatever he has executed, everything is there in that. You can refer that later. Okay, fine. Okay, next.
Sir, one more question.
Sorry.
There is one question. Sir.
Yes.
If you want to slightly modify that script, can you modify it?
You can modify it after saving it. Is a normal script, normal file.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay, next ls pw who am I, exit, echo, everything we discussed. Path also I discussed. Echo I discussed. Okay, then if you want to know that, see ls minus l, if I type, it is not going to show the hidden files. If I type ls minus ls minus l, if you type, it will not show. If I type ls minus la, it is not it is going to show the hidden files as well. There is something like bash history, bash logout, bash profile, bash rc. There are some files. So this bash profile will have the information about that user. So what is this information? Let me give some idea about this. What is that is, see, I'm clicking on up arrow. I'm clicking on up arrow. So as this easy to open user, the previous commands, whatever I executed, it is going to show that. Like how many commands it has to show. I'm working with this user from past 10 years. All the commands, whatever I executed from past 10 years, it will show. No, in this mission, there will, if for that file, there will be some variables we have set. Hit size equal to 5000. Hits file size equal to 500, like this we give. Like this we can set the information, like the history. In the history, how many commands it has to store, the previous 100 commands, the previous 1000 commands, like that we can set that. Okay, and if you don't want to, for example, ls command I'm executing 10 times, I'll execute ls commands, but it has to treat it as only once. So for that also we can set ignore dupes equal to true, something like that. If you set, it will ignore the duplicates, right? Just information you just be aware of. Date is a command. If you want to know the date and time of this, so you can type this date command. Why it is giving date as this one? October 4th. Okay, fine. But it is giving, now our time is 10 a.m., but it is showing as 4. Why? Yeah, it is universal time, UTC, universal time. So you have to convert to our time. So plus 530 hours, right? We have to convert it. Okay. Next, history. So if you want to see that history, so you want to see that previous commands, whatever you executed, history is the command. So it will show the previous commands, that 500 command, his size or his control was there 500, right? The previous 500 commands it will show, but so far we executed only 462 commands. Okay. So now if you want to get that grep or something or tail only top 10 like this, you can use using type symbol. So if you want to say that his control equal to ignore dupes, means duplications. If you have executed here, see this clear command, how many times executed? Every time it showed. I don't want. I want to clear only once, the latest one, right? You can execute his control equal to ignore dupes. So the latest one, whatever I executed, only that. So this command will not be stored. Only last time when I were executed clear, only that will be stored. Okay, like this.
Excuse me. Hello.
Yes.
There in the history command, it's in small case when comparing to the history and hist control, there are two different in case sensitive. Is there any difference with the case sensitive?
Where case sensitive?
For history, it's in normal means small letters. For and hist control is in
command. First
command itself.
See this. This is a variable.
Okay.
It's a variable.
Okay.
Next. This just basic idea, keep it on this. Not if you want to clear the history minus C, it is going to clear the history. And if you want to reboot your mission, reboot is a command. Force reboot -F. This and all will not do in general. It is not so easy to reboot a mission. In AWS, we'll learn this. And if you want to send a mail, from your Linux, if you want to send a mail, so mail is a command. But you cannot easily send a mail. You need to have SMTP configuration. That what is SMTP and all we'll learn in Jenkins. But in general, from Linux missions, we'll not send mails. Okay, we'll use some other tools like Jenkins or something. When we use monitoring tools, from there only we'll send the mails like SNS notifications and all. But in general, we'll not use Linux mission to send the mails. But just remember, mail is a command to send a mail, but without attachment. If you want to send a mail with attachment, MUTT is the command. Okay, just have an idea. That's it. Next, one more important command, wget. I want to download something into my Windows machine. How you will download? For example, I want to download Git software. For example, in Windows, Git for Windows will go here. We'll click on this. For example, I want to download this setup. We'll download it. Yes or no? But Linux, if I want to download, how can I download? Is just get this download URL. This link is there, right? Copy address link. This is the link. If you hit this, it will download. Now in Linux, wget is a command to download. Wget, give the link. Right? See, it started. It is saying something. 400 bad requests, something it is saying, HTTP request sent, waiting response. It is not able to download. But you understood, right? How to download? Maybe that URL is not properly copied or something is missing. It's okay, but still it can download. Just a download it. Okay, you understood, right? So wget is a command. So wget, you give the URL, whatever you want to download, that download URL, it will download. But don't give this URL. Don't give this URL. If you give this, it can't identify it has to download from here. So if you want to download, everything will have some URL like this, proper URL. Now it is proper. See, now I'm going to give this. So every download will have URL. So you give that URL, it start downloading. Now if I type this, see it has downloaded exe file. Somewhere you can see that. Is there anything downloaded? See here, it has downloaded that exe file. Understood, guys? So wget is a command download. Okay, next, yum is the command, one more command. See, for example, I want to install something. In Linux, I want to install. In Windows, what you will do? Double click and install it. But here it is yum install. For example, I want to install Jenkins or something. Right? So yum is a command to install. But don't worry, yum we will use like how many hairs I lost, right? Those many times we use. Okay, you don't worry. Yum is a command we use in regularly. So don't worry. I'll show you the word. Yum, just remember, wget is to download something. Yum is for installation. So by default, it will download from packages, some external packages. Sometimes we have to download and install. What is this? And all we'll discuss. Don't worry. Yum is for installation. Wget is for download. Okay, fine. Next, tree command. What is this tree? For example, ls I type. I want to see this data in a recursive way. How to see that recursive way? There is a directory, sample directory or bash 24. It has some other directory inside. I want to see everything in a recursive manner. How to see that? Using ls command. ls minus
capital R.
Right, it is going to list in recursively. So B2 has a directory inside. Inside that B2 a directory, there is B. But it is easy to read, little complex. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just type tree. But tree is not a command, it is showing. Command not found. Command is not there. But tree is an Linux command, but it is not there. So this is like an external command. Means with your Linux, it is not going to come by default. Then I can use yum command to install. Yum install tree. So this is a default. This is available in default packages of Linux. So I can install. But error I'll get. So what it is? You need to be a root user or sudo user. So for the starting, I'm going to use sudo. Sudo yum install tree. So it is going to install. But in between, it will ask yes or no. So type yes. Continue. So it has installed. Now it has installed the tree command. Now if tree, see it is showing. So there is a directory in current directory in a dot here it is showing. You see here dot inside my current directory there is a directory called AA, one more directory called bash 21, one more directory called bash 22. Inside this there is one A directory, inside that B, inside B there are b.txt and C directory, inside that C directory, inside that d.txt is there. Is it showing? Like this. So one more directory inside this bash 24. Like this, it is going to show all the files and directories in a tree structured manner. Okay, tree structure it is going to show. Understood, guys? Okay, next. Top command. Top. Okay, shall we end here or else shall we continue? 8 to 9:30, 2 hours we discuss, right? Shall I continue for some more time, like 10 minutes?
Continue.
Okay, I will try to complete this Linux today. Okay, we'll try to complete. So next, top command. One of the most used command in real time and debugging purpose, interviews, whatnot. Every time we use this top command. Guys, on my Linux machine, let's take one example. On my Linux machine, I install Jenkins. I install Java. I install Node.js. I install some applications also. Like that, tools and applications I install on my Linux. Now, somehow, my applications are not working. All the applications stopped working. Or else my Linux itself is getting restarted continuously. I want to debug it. So first thing what we do is, we'll check the CPU utilization. Whenever our Linux machine is running, we'll connect to that and check the CPU utilization. Why? Maybe one application might be consuming all the CPU and the other application has a shortage of to use the CPU. First thing what we debug in real time is top command. Using to check the CPU utilization, we use top command. Top will show the CPU utilization in a see. If I'm going to use this top, see this. Did it ended my terminal? Did it came back to my terminal like this? No, it is showing in like editor like form. It is showing on a pop-up. See here, you observe here. This is changing regularly. You observe it here. This is systemd something, right? You observe here. So after some time, it will change. So what this top command will do is, it will list all the processes. I deployed an application, that is one process. The application is running one process. I installed Jenkins. Jenkins is one process running. Jenkins is running, that is one running process. Like that. For each and every process, what are all the processes which are using more CPU? That will come on top. It will list all the processes which are using CPU, but in a sorting order, this whatever the application or the process, whichever uses more CPU, that will come on top. See now, it came and went. You see here, it is 0. See, now root user is using 0.3% of CPU. Now it is not using. That is keep changing. So now, when whoever uses CPU utilization, that keeps changing. Who is on top? Which application or else which process is using more CPU? That will come on top. Right? Like that it will show. Okay. Now, based on seeing this, if there is an application which is using 10%, the other 2%, then other, like in a sorting order, it will show. Whichever is using more CPU utilization, like 90%, 80% if it is using, we'll identify that and we'll come to know that that application is a culprit which is causing the issue, more CPU utilization. Then we'll think about auto scaling, increasing the instance, or else like application bug or something like that. We'll take care of that. Okay. Now you type quit, it will come back to your terminal. Now done. Done. It came back to your terminal. It will not work anymore. Understood, guys? So top is a command. What it will do? It will list the process which are using CPU and in a means whatever the process which is using more CPU, that will be listed on top. Okay. Now, if you want to, top will list all the processes, but for every application, the installation or the user owner will be there, right? I want to list based on the user specific. What are all the processes running by one specific user? That user process I want to know. Top minus u username. If you give only the process which are running, but that user, it will list in that order. Starting order. Understood? Okay. I want only top 10 processes. Top minus and 10. Okay. Next. Next, free. Okay. What is this free? What is df command will do? Df.
How much memory is used?
Right?
Complete the available free space in the disk.
Yeah, how much is your hard disk capacity? How much is utilized? Is free available? Everything df is going to use. I want to know about RAM. How much free RAM is available like that? Free is a command to check about RAM space. Understood? Next. Now I have to do fdisk is a command. fdisk. Do anyone remember about fdisk? Fdisk is a command where we do partitionings, like my hard disk is not enough, so I attached an external hard disk. If you just keep attach it, it will not work. You have to create a file system, mount it and all. So that mounting point and all, if you want to see that where it is mounted, fdisk is a command. If you are not aware of this, it's okay, no problem. In Linux, EC2 instances, when we attach new volumes and all, we use this command, mount, unmount, fdisk and all we use. We'll discuss about that. Okay. Next, rsync, remote sync. Rsync means remote sync. What is this? We'll discuss. First, let me explain one thing. I have one Linux machine, right? I have one more Linux machine, 2 machines. If we can do this for one machine also, let's discuss about 2 machines. Now, I have a folder here. I have some files here. I have some files inside that, right? I have an application. Daily, it will write some files to this. Today, it wrote 10 files. So total files available in that directory are 10 files. Tomorrow, so the 10 file size is like 1 GB. Tomorrow, it will write half GB. Day after tomorrow, it will write 1.5 GB, 2 GB like that. My job is, this application is going to write the files here. My job is, every day I want to copy these files to this directory inside the other server, other Linux server. Like this A directory, B directory, this application is generating files and keep it here. I want to copy this from here to here daily at 1 o'clock, or else daily morning, whenever I log in at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I have to copy from here to here. That is my job. Fine. Today is the first time this application has generated the files. It generated 1 GB of files. How can I copy from here to here? CP is the command which we will copy within the file, within the Linux machine from one directory to other directory. But if you want to copy from one directory to the other directory between the Linux server, SCP is the command, secure copy. Okay, I discussed or not, I'm not sure. It is, right? SCP. In this batch, I haven't discussed, I guess. Okay, I'll discuss that. SCP is the command we'll discuss in some time. From here to here, we can copy. But tell me, here 1 GB is there. How many files it will copy? Entire 1 GB files it will copy. Okay, here 1 GB is present. Tomorrow, I already copied, right? From now to next, tomorrow 10 AM, it has generated 1 more GB of files. Total, how many are there? 2 GB. Now, if you try to copy from here tomorrow morning, if you try to copy from here to here, how many files it will copy? 2 GB. Already 1 GB is there. But again, it will copy from scratch. Entire data it will copy 2 GB. I don't want that. It's unnecessary copying, right? It will take time and consume memory, that and all, right? What should I do is, anyways, it will overwrite that 1 GB files, but I should not do that. Why unnecessarily, right? I want to copy only the new files and modified files. In such case, you can create a remote sync. Remote sync. What it will do is, instead of SCP, you created remote sync. So whenever you create...
What is that? Remote sync?
Wait.
What was that word?
rsync. That means remote sync. You wait until I explain, then you can ask. Okay. What that remote sync is, I'll create one remote sync, means rsync command, give this as the source and this as a destination. So what it will do is, like CP command, rsync is one command. I'll give source as this folder and destination as this folder. So in such case, what it will do is, it will copy whatever is there here. It will copy from here to here. Next, once I did this application has generated 1 more GB and kept it there. Tomorrow morning I came and I'll execute the same rsync command. In such case, what it will do is, it will identify what are all the files already copied, what are all the new files, what are all modified files. It can identify and it will copy only the modified files and new files. Already yesterday itself it copied few files, right? Those are as it is, they are untouched. So it will not touch those files, only the new files and modified files it will copy from there to here. Understood? And you remember one thing, rsync is unidirectional. Means if you have created rsync from source to destination, this is a source destination. If you run rsync tomorrow, only the files which will copy from here to here. But if you have generated new files here, this will not copy from here to here. Unidirectional, source to destination. Always whenever you run rsync, source to destination, it will copy. Understood? Understood, guys? Next, I want unidirectional. Then what should I do? Sorry, it is unidirectional. I want bidirectional. What should I do? Yeah, you create one rsync, this as the source, this as the destination. You create one more rsync, this as the source and this as the destination. So when you run rsync here, it will copy from here to here. When you run rsync here, it will copy from here to here. Understood? Someone was asking a question. What is your question now? Can you ask your question now? Or is it clear? Hello? I think Chaitanya or someone was asking a question.
No, Nilkanta, nothing. Then my doubt is, if we create an, how will that work? The rsync will work.
Wait. The theoretical I explained. I'll just show you.
Okay.
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 That's it. We'll stop it here for today. Again, it's too heavy. Tomorrow I'll discuss about that SCP. First, you need to understand SCP. So if you understand SCP, rsync also you can understand easily. This rsync cannot be done. No need to be done between the two missions. You can do here from here itself. The same mission from one directory to other directory also you can do rsync. Okay. So we'll discuss about rsync and SCP, secure copy, tomorrow, and then zip, unzip, tar, cron tab. We'll discuss later. Service commands, ping, this and all we'll discuss, and then we'll end up Linux tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow itself we'll start our shell scripting. Okay. Quickly, let's just complete this Linux and shell scripting quickly. Then we can get into our actual DevOps tools. Okay, that will be at least interesting. Okay, but don't neglect this Linux and shell scripting. These are too much mandatory. Okay, these are the prerequisites. Okay, guys. Okay, that's it. I'm stopping here. We'll meet
Nilkanta doubt.
8 o'clock. Okay, yes.